It begins. Oh, it's now streaming to YouTube. Get down with the YouTube. All the YouTubers in the building. Put your hands up in the air. Oh, Instagram. We live on Instagram too. We balling.
Hey guys, I'm just popping this up in the chat. All right, so I think we finally are getting some traction here. I think we got it, Reggie. There we go. Okay.
Reggie.
All right, guys, we're trying to go live together so we can have our late night conversations with Krista and Reggie. So if you want to catch Reggie on the Zoom with me, if you're watching this from Instagram, go ahead and hop on over to YouTube. But I'm going to try to put this up so you guys can see both of us right now. And if you have any questions while we're having our little chat, definitely hop in. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from for sure. Where are you watching this from?
It's important. We want to know where you are at right now. Outside of the fact that you're at home. We know you're at home, but where is home for you?
Yes. So Reggie and I are in the great state of Michigan.
We are. We're in our homes.
In our separate homes. And yeah, so what we wanted to really talk about today is all of the lessons that we have been learning by following some of the greatest business minds in the world, right? People that have accumulated over $1 billion in net worth. And a lot of the people that Reggie follow have like, they're would you call it a deca billionaire?
Yeah,
okay.
Deca.
Right.
Yes.
Like I'm still trying to talk about people that have like a $1 billion net worth, and Reggie's like talking about the people that have like 50 billion, 100 billion net worth, right? So let's talk about it together because we're both on this journey of creating, really solving problems, creating solutions.
Yes.
And when we actually start having this dialogue, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be a common theme that you guys are going to hear, is that some of the richest people in this world have solved both very complex problems and very simple problems. You'd be surprised, right? So Reggie, kick it off. Let's have this conversation.
Absolutely. No, first, I think it's really important for people to know that let's just keep it real and keep it 100. This is off the cuff. It's not scripted. It's raw and uncut. So that also means that your questions can be raw and uncut. Krista and I obviously have been building a romantic relationship. We've been building business relationships. We mentor one another. So we have a very unique relationship. And a relationship comes with highs, it comes with lows, it comes with conflict, managing and maneuvering through that conflict. And so I think it's important too to realize, like, how can you independently grow and scale independently, and how to unify and create value collectively. And so obviously our theme tonight is talking about billionaires and the lessons we've learned from them. And today I even got the idea of creating the Billionaires row on my wall in my office, right? So what I did today, because some of you saw our last talk where I talked about environment, right? Creating an environment. And I'm like, I'm building a tech company. I got this mental trajectory, but where's my environment, right? Like, I don't have my own environment. So what I did today, I literally copied and pasted 5 key Forbes, front page magazine profiles, right? One being Robert F. Smith, Dan Goatee, who's from Africa. We have the crypto billionaires on there, Mark Andreessen, who is a venture capital, billionaire, who also created Netscape, right? So some of you were familiar with Netscape back in the day. And then there's one other that I'm drawing a blank on right now. But the facts are this, that having those pictures and individuals in front of me keeps the vision clear on the trajectory and where we're heading. And so I think that we need to talk about some of the key lessons that we've learned from billionaires, because one of the things that's common with most billionaires, whether they're self-made or they've created, and earned, they've inherited and taken in their wealth, we focus on those that are self-made, those who've created, that came literally from either poverty, that were, refugees, that were, individuals that were aliens entering this country, like how did they go from being dead poor to creating substantial wealth? And one of the key elements, I think, is their emotional quotient for tolerating pain, right? And I remember one of my mentors telling me many years ago, he said, the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire is their pain tolerance. And so often, once people reach a certain level of success, they don't want to endure the growth pain, right? Anytime you create an opportunity, you create a business, there's pain because you're learning, you're failing, there's disappointment, there's setbacks, right? There's obstacles that you didn't anticipate. And the person that sees the global view, and Krista, you really placed this thought in my mind, effectively through your navigation of billionaires, but the common thread is their ability to see globally. So the ability to endure pain emotionally is a key attribute for success. And then those who have a higher pain tolerance, it's proven they go further down the field in terms of success because they're using their resourcefulness, the emotional quotient to endure, and they begin to see the challenges and the setbacks as necessary. And I think in your life, scaling back to just fundamentally wherever you're at, and as you're pursuing your goals, your dreams, your passions, it's just realizing that what you're going through is necessary. So my first takeaway from the Billionaire 101 is just having a high emotional quotient and pain tolerance in order to endure long enough to succeed.
I love that. Yeah, because so many people give up. They give up way too fast, way too soon. Things get like they crumble up underneath pressure. So if you look at some of the people that persevere, they were told no hundreds of times. They had to find alternate ways to raise capital or alternate ways to come up with the money to fund their idea. They were caught crazy, a lot of them, right, by their family, their friends. And so a lot of people don't have like the mental fortitude to take that type of, do I want to call it negativity, or like just endurance? Like you said, they don't have the fortitude, the mental fortitude to persevere when even loved ones is close to them, spouses close to them are saying, don't do that, or that's crazy, right? So to have the endurance to persevere for sure is one of the lessons that I've learned, even with Jeff Bezos, right? He pitched 100 people and like 66 was like, no, nope, that's a dumb idea. You want to create an online bookstore? Like, why? Right. Yep. And now he's one of the richest people in the world. So yeah, right. So one of the things that, and Jeff Bezos is, one of my favorite entrepreneurs that I like to follow for.
Your favorite, he is the favorite.
Yes, he is the favorite, and only because of his customer obsession, right? Like I believe that he's gotten to where he's at because of his principles, like because of the values that he stayed true to, right? He stayed true to the value of short-term pain for long-term gain. Like consistently in his letters to shareholders, he would say, like, we're going to sacrifice cash right now for the long term. And if you are not an investor that has that same value set, don't invest in this company. Like he would tell people that, like, right, you don't want to invest in us if you just think that you're just like, we're going to run this business for the sake of the dollar, right? The dollar was important for him, but what's always been important for him was customer obsession. How can we obsess over our customers? How can we create a wow experience? Because one of the things that he said was customers will never get tired of low prices and value, right? So he's like, how can I always have the lowest price? How can I always have the most valuable products and services to offer? Because customers will never get tired of that. Customers will never get tired of having the products and services that they need right now, right? Yeah. So everything that he's doing is to increase that customer satisfaction to where now, if he could create ways to teleport your Amazon package in your household, like he's getting to that point. Right now they're doing drones and they're trying to, really test to see how they can have people order and a drone deliver.
Listen, they got random folks showing up to your house, dropping off the packages now, right? Like they're not even serving prime trucks. I seen a Ford Escape one day. I saw a Mazda Miata. Like they're carrying the packages to the door now, and they got their mask on, and they just put their hazards on, and they got little prime jackets. Like what they're doing is just next level. They're like, at any means necessary, we are going to deliver this product to you immediately. We're going to get your cousin to drop it off. It doesn't matter. They're going to get it done.
Your cousin, sister, baby cousin, Keisha,
Yeah.
to drop it off, right?
He's bringing it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they delivered it.
Yeah. And so that's made him wildly successful, wildly profitable. And then just the balls really to expand his business the way he's expanded it, to get into industries that he knows nothing about. He's like, listen, we're going to get into the music business. We're going to get into the filming and the acting and the creation of television shows and products. And we're going to put really smart people to handle all of that, right?
Yep.
Like, and he's growing this conglomerate, right? To where I have no doubt that he will, like, you could literally go to Amazon for anything. And that was his core mission. When he first started, Amazon was going to be a place where you can find anything, anywhere, anytime in the world. And when you think about that mission in itself causes for radical efficiencies. It calls for radical operations to the point where, you know, the way that they have their warehouses set up is so efficient, right? The steps that people take to grab a product is so efficient. So I've learned so much from him and really understanding efficiencies, operations, how to run your meetings, making them more efficient, having an agenda that you stick to, that you know, foregoing, like, what are we talking about? What's the end result? You know, because he didn't like the, you know, what do we call it? Like the bureaucratic way on how traditional Fortune 500 companies run their meetings. Like the CEO is typically on meetings like all day. He's like, none of that. We don't have time for that. We have time to create products that's going to get us to our mission and our vision, right? So radical customer obsession is something that I'm going to implement into all of my ventures, right? How can we make this the best experience? How can we get our clients faster results? How can we get our clients to their end result, right? Shortening their learning curve or just their journey, right? So if it takes normally 10 steps from a client to join my program or to work with me to get a result, how can I shorten that time frame? How can I take on most of the work and
now
give you done
let's
for
go
products, right?
Let's go. Let's go. What you gonna do?
Reggie, you're a good hype man too. You be hyping me up.
I know, because you be going. So I might as well encourage it, support it. Value add is my role here tonight. Is there any questions before we continue? Has anyone asked any questions? Because I can't see that. Anyone hopped on and said, hey.
Someone says, love Bezos' enthusiasm. That's a key point. Amazon does learn and leverage. Yes. Let's see if anybody's anything on YouTube. Hey guys on YouTube. Nope. Everybody's just listening, enjoying. Everybody's just hanging in there.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, this is big talk though, right? Like, you have to realize that anything that we've ever wanted to master or do well in our life, like, it doesn't matter if you wanted to master watching TV well. It took consistency, it took discipline, it took commitment.
Right.
And if you want to become extremely wealthy, like, those attributes transcend. And so I think what people have to realize, that if I really want to grab a hold of this thing called massive success, transformational success, like revolutionary type stuff, you have to be like, billionaires are firm on their principles, right? Like, you read Ray Dalio's book. I have not, but I follow Ray closely. And when you realize that there's a systematic way of doing everything, that they've taken their life lessons and then use them in a uniform measure on how to dictate how they either make a decision or process their life on a daily basis, even though it sounds rigid. You've done this, I've come to do this. Like, our life is in our calendar, right? My fun time is in my calendar now. My business, my children, it's all in the calendar versus randomness, right? Because when we're random, we're ineffective, we're inefficient, right? Going that route. So becoming more disciplined. The question becomes, how do I become more disciplined when I have all this going on and all that going on? And what I realized is that you just haven't, as the individual listening right now, you haven't found something that moves you enough that causes you to expand your capacity. That's really it. Like you just haven't found what moves you in a way that you feel aligned with your purpose so that you're willing to give up the things that are holding you back. And I remember there was a season when I first built my first $1 million business, giving up car shows, basketball, and hanging out with friends. Like my 20s, as yours were, my 20s were dedicated to the mission. And the mission was freedom, creating financial independence to be free. Like to me, watching the basketball game with friends was cool, but sitting courtside was better. You know, watching the National Geographic show was cool, but going to like the islands and actually seeing the wildlife in person was better. And so I started drawing those contrasts in my mind to determine what made more sense and what was I willing to give up to have the better experience.
Mhm.
And so the discipline of doing what you said you were going to do and maintaining that is key. And I think most billionaires, if not all, are extraordinarily disciplined, especially the investors, where they're unemotional about the decision making. So what you're going to do every day at 8 a.m. is so unemotional. It's down to a science and it's down to a belief system where some of you, now that you haven't had to get up to go to work, you're starting your day later, you're going to sleep later, you're sleeping in longer, and it feels good because you're doing something you really don't want to do,
Right.
right? But when you find that purpose, then you realize I got to shape up and really get on my grind and pursue my greatness. And then you just got to start asking yourself some simple questions like, if not now, when? Like, if I don't do this now for my family, for my loved ones, when will I do it? Right? Like, when will I go be great for my family? And you got to ask yourself, like, why not you? Right? Like, why shouldn't you be the one that creates the next big thing, right? That solves the next big problem or small problem that yields to be a global need, right? Like, whoever knew people were going to need food faster, right? Even though it wasn't healthy, they wanted food faster. Like, who thought that you were going to make tons of money putting water in bottles? Like, I used to always use that example when I was training people. Like, people made a fortune putting water in bottles, okay? And they said they filtered it. We don't really know, okay? We don't really know what they did or didn't do. But here's what we do know. They made a fortune putting water, a natural resource, in the and sold it to you. Like, you can't get it from your tap because it's the marketing, the branding, the perception, what you perceive, with your, with your, with different parts of your modalities, right? So my point is that find something that causes you to want to step up, to level up, as Krista would say, up level, right? Like she always says that we'll be sitting there and she's like, I'm all about up leveling, Reggie. And I'm like, is that level up, right? Like, in my mind, I'm conflicted, right? But up leveling,
Right.
up level. I say level up. She says up level. But you see, the point is you got to step your game up.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So much so. Like, what did I up level last? My what was it?
Uber.
My
Uber.
pajamas. I up leveled my pajamas because I was like, why am I going to bed in just like a raggedy t-shirt? Like, why? I'm like, no, I'm gonna go to bed in luxury style. So
Invested. I was the investor.
Reggie
Yes.
invested in my up leveling of my pajamas. He went to Vicky's Secrets. He bought me a line of very nice silk pajamas, and now we up level before we go to bed at night. We don't wear no frumpy t-shirt, right?
Right.
So
Uber though, like when you showed up to the house that night in the Uber black, I was like, okay.
I know. He turned me on to Uber Black. I was riding regular Uber style, regular Lyft style, but now I go to the Black or XL version when I don't feel like driving. And now I get pulled up in the Escalades and
Let's talk about that, right? Because there's some of you right now, because obviously the bulk of your community, they're accountants, right? So everybody's accounting for the use of funds and time. But there has to be a value proposition placed on our time that one day exceeds money, right? Because then you will begin to make decisions based on value, not cost. And when you begin to make decisions based on value, not cost, you begin to see the game differently. And billionaires have done that. And that's what's so important. So, like, when someone says, why would I pay for a Uber Black, let's say that trip is $90 versus standard Uber is $50, right? Well, the first thing is you're going to get a better ride, right? So what is your body worth to you? Do you want the luxury ride where the system, I mean, the suspension, the tires, the leather, the comfort, heated, cool seats, like, is that better than cloth,
Yeah.
a less refined suspension? So you're like, right? And then you get to your destination tired and you're like, man, I'm exhausted because you're not refreshed. Uber Black, they got water for you, cell phone chargers in there. Standard Uber, they're like, you got to bring your own, right? So if you don't prepare for that long trip, you're exhausted, you're dehydrated, and your cell phone is almost dead. So was the value of spending the extra $40 for you worth it? And so you got to look at how, like, for example, logically, it will never make sense to buy a plane to travel, right? Private charter does not make sense on paper. However, value, it exceeds its cost because the value of compressing time is critical. Privacy. Like I was just having a conversation with my business partner. He said, so like, when do you see yourself buying a jet and no longer doing first class? I said, well, when security becomes an issue, right? There's going to come a time that if you do certain things and just certain exposure, security becomes a real issue. And so you can't be sitting in first class because you could get exposed, right? Like I remember not too long ago, I was thinking to myself, like when we see celebrities that used to fly private and then they come back to first class, it's like a downturn, right? You're like, what happened, right? Something's not right there. And so there was one particular celebrity that became friends with, I'm not going to mention his name, but I remember thinking like he was bombarded. Like people are like, oh my gosh, you're that guy, you did this. And he's with his wife and his kids. And I'm just like, so the value of privacy, compressing time, like imagine being able to travel to California from Michigan, take care of business and come back home to your family versus having to stay overnight and end up traveling like 17 hours total or 24 hours total or 40 hours total because you had to, right? Like what's the value of getting home 24 hours quicker, 12 hours faster? Is it worth spending 40 grand? See, soon you'll begin to realize that your time becomes more valuable than your money, but you have to position yourself mentally first to think like that. Then the finances will show up to support that behavior. And then before you know it, you'll be making multi-million or billion-dollar decisions. But that way of thinking started before the money showed up.
It does. It does. Ooh, that last part, Reggie. It
Yeah.
started before the money showed up. Like that right there, people missed the mark on so much. And it was wild to me yesterday because yesterday I told you I was doing my billionaire math and
Yes.
I was creating my billionaire. One of my coaches asked a really great question. She said, who out in the world do you admire? Like what characteristics do you admire about that person? And I pulled up 5 people that I really admire. Of course, Jeff Bezos was number one. And I put the characteristics, like, why do I admire that person? Like, what is it in that person that I absolutely love? And I was able to compile this list of very core characteristics that I want to embody or that the Krista Tyus billionaire embodies,
Say
right?
that one more time. I need to say it one more time.
The Krista Tyus billionaire embodies these qualities, right? And I remember
Get
just
you one.
I'm sorry?
I was telling them to get you one in case the guys are listening. Yeah, get you one. But go ahead.
So I remember last year, I was still trying to conceive making $1 million. I'm like, and the year before that, $1 million was just like, how am I going to do this? Right. And so once you reach one goal, you realize that goal was like, okay, that goal was good. But now it's like my whole paradigm has been open to the world, to globalization, right? Like, how can we solve global problems, right? And that's always been like in my gut. Like even a few years ago, I was like, Krista, what does software do? And I listed out some of the top software companies that I personally used at that time. I listed Facebook, I listed Zillow, I listed like Trulia because I was still dabbling in real estate at that time. And what I did was I looked at the software and I was like, holy crap, all software is doing is brokering people and things, people and services. I was like, that is what, like when I actually saw that, when I listed out Facebook, I was like, okay, Facebook has content and it has advertisers. The content, I'm sorry, they have people and they have advertisers, right? And they use that And I just pretend like I'm Facebook, guys. And I'm just bringing these two together. Zillow is a platform where real estate agents can connect with buyers and sellers, and they are the platform that brings that together. And when I saw that over 2 years ago, I said, that's what it's about.
Let's
Like,
pause right there. Let's pause right there because you said something brilliant. You've always talked about this, and I think it's really important for everyone to get. You saw it. That was the key because you've been training your brain in this season to recognize. Like
mhm,
some people are using technology right now and they don't even see it for what it could be for and pertaining to what they could create. So the key is being able to step back and listen to those who come before you and what they've done, and then you start seeing patterns. So kudos to you. People like me, we begin to see it differently before it happens. And if you look at any billionaire, they just see it differently. They see
mhm.
it differently. Therefore, the vision is different. The mission is different. The purpose behind it becomes different.
Yeah, so much so, like, I was on a coaching call with my clients, I think it was Tuesday,
Mhm.
and my mind is trained to spot problems and immediately find a solution. Like, my brain, I just can't turn it off. And I'll be looking at TV. I'm like, that's the problem. I hear somebody talking, and I'm like, that's the problem. Here's a solution. And it's like just computing in my brain. You call me the IBM processor, right?
It
Like,
happens in a relationship too. That's the problem. I'm like,
okay, we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that. Sips drink, right? So I'm coaching on my clients in my millionaire mastermind, and she's talking about this problem, and they get overwhelmed because I'm constantly giving them solutions, and they're like, I don't know which solution to go with because they start to see the abundance of the solutions that if they solve this solution that it they will get compensated. Like
right.
their value will be in correlation to the solution that they're solving. Like any one of these solutions will make you a millionaire. And I
Mm,
try to tell them that, and they get overwhelmed because they're like, oh my God, I
right.
didn't realize that I can do either one of these solutions and make $1 million with it.
Mhm.
And now they get to pick and choose which one is most in alignment with them. Which service do they feel most aligned to offer their core people, their niche clients that's going to take them to $1 million, and they just got to stay consistent from there. Right.
So
So,
no,
yep.
I'm just saying a quick segue. You know, we're in a technology-driven society where I can text my 6 and 7 year old on their iPads and say it's time for bed. I haven't
Mhm,
got yell anymore. Remember your parents used to yell? I just like
mhm.
time for bed.
My mom used to stomp on the floor, do, do, do. Because our bedrooms are below, and we had a bungalow, and her bedroom was at the top. She would just stomp on the floor, and we knew when you
It
heard
was go,
mama stomp, you better
it was
take your
go
butt
time. It was
upstairs.
go time. Who has a question? A question for Krista and or Reggie, right? And what can we help you with? You know, because what people realize as we continue these conversations, like to navigate a relationship like this requires a high level of thinking, patience, endurance, right? You know, so a lot of people are like, yeah, I want to marry a boss, build an empire. That comes with discipline and responsibility. That's not easy, right? You know, it's different than it's just different. I'm not going to draw any comparisons, but you know, but it's beneficial. There's a lot of upside, but it requires skill set. It requires thought process. It
How
just
about this? So I think you asked a really great question the other day. You said, Krista, you correct me if I get this wrong. You asked me something like, Krista, what have I contributed to you in your life or something like that? Like, how did you ask me that?
yes. I said, what do you believe? I said, what do you, hold on. Oh, what do you believe I've contributed to your up leveling? Right, because you're talking about up leveling. I said, what do you believe I contribute to that up leveling?
Mm.
That was the question.
Right, right. And so the point that I want to make here, and then I'll answer that publicly for people, but the point that I want to make is having people around that actually helps you expand your thinking, that actually helps you see different possibilities that you can't see yourself because no one's activated that reticular activating part of your brain to see that, right?
AS.
Right. And so before me and Reggie started talking, and dating, I was growing my $1 million business. I was being overwhelmed. I didn't like, I felt like balled in, like contracted in because I didn't have anyone that I could like tell these ideas to and to get feedback on and just, really just be myself, right? Really just cuz when you're going on this journey and you're talking about millions of dollars, becoming a billionaire, like people look at you like you're crazy. They're like, you know what I'm saying? Let me sip my tea, right? Like people look at you like you're crazy. So you're gonna have people look at you crazy when you quit your job. People are gonna be like, why are you quitting your job? You have a comfortable 9 to 5. You have benefits, you have health, right? So hi Alex.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Miss Krista.
Hi. Have a great night.
Good night. And
Um,
almost every day I get to have 10 minutes.
Additional.
ooh, that's good. Well, make sure you use them wisely.
Set your timer.
Okay, I'm gonna put a time for that, and also when that's done,
Yes.
I'm gonna put a timer when I wake up.
Okay. Alarm. Sounds great. Okay.
So responsible.
Right.
So you're gonna have stages for people think you're crazy. The first stage is when you quit your job, people are gonna think you're crazy. The
Yeah.
second stage when you're trying to like be an entrepreneur and you're trying to make money, and people are gonna be like, people they still kind of looking at you sideways because you ain't really making no money yet. So they're like, okay, we go see what she do, right?
Right. You're talking. Right. Talking again. Yeah.
Right.
You're really about that life. Yes.
Right. The third thing is 6 figures. I want to make 100K. People gonna be like, okay, go ahead, try it. Right. Like, whatever. The second or the fourth thing is I want to make 1 million. Right. So I'm just taking you guys through the journey where people were just looking at me sideways. And
Yes.
now it's like Krista Tias is a billionaire. Like Krista Tias solves world problems. Right. Hi,
Yeah.
RJ.
Hi.
You.
Good night, Daddy. Can we have 10 more minutes?
Yes, I agree to that.
Oh. Did you message me back, really?
No, I'm talking.
Okay.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too. See you in the morning.
Okay.
Good night.
Wait, I have to get one more thing. It's downstairs. It's my charger base.
Okay. So yes, they were looking. So Krista Tias, millionaire.
Billionaire, Reggie. Billionaire.
Well, that's what you left off. That was your last statement.
Okay. So, just make sure you put that B in there. Okay. So,
I am a supporter of that.
right.
Support
So
of that.
the whole key is that when you and I started dating and I started here, like, you talk about jets and, you're showing me like $54 million homes. I'm like, that's too much. Like he doing too much. You talking about yachts, right? I'm like, he doing too much. Like, right. And so, but as I started
Censored version, by the way, I'm just telling you, she's giving you the censored version of her thoughts. I'm sure they were a little deeper than that, but please continue.
No, that was it. I was just like, like that's a lot. And I'm like, why would anybody want to do all that? But as I started getting more, like as I started growing more, right? My business started growing more. I started helping more people. And I started to really think about like what impact do I want to have on the world? Like what solutions, what problems do I really want to solve that's going to create a global solution, right?
Yeah.
And so as I'm going on this journey, it really just started to solidify, like Krista, like where you're at right now in my little, $1 million house and where I'm at, like this is just scratching the surface, right? Like your first little $1 million goal, like that was just scratching the surface. And there is so much more, problems or just going back to Jeff Bezos' customer obsession. Like, how can I have my ideal client and obsess wildly about solving their problems, obsess wildly about giving them the solutions, the tools, the resources that they need to be successful, right? Like you look at like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, like those guys with their platforms have made other billionaires and millionaires, right? Like they've created wealth off of their platforms, people participating with their IP, with their product, with their services, right? And people reiterating upon it. So just having the idea is going to create a new idea. Like Bill Gates said it, he was just like, there's going to be somebody that's richer than me one day. And why would I pay for them or something? Like he was talking about his philanthropy. Like when he passes, his philanthropy is going to cease, right? Like he's not going to pass that money down. He's like, why would I make the next person rich? Like they have to pick up where I left off. Like they have to get here, right? And there's going to be much wealthier people than I am today. And that's even crazy to have somebody.
Yeah, I differ when it comes to that, but I think that's more cultural differences. But continue. That's a whole nother discussion. I think we should dive into that one night. Like, why would I not do the giving oath or the pledge? Why that's like unacceptable for the flowers?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would have to research Bill Gates to see like why. But his whole point was like there's going to be people richer than him, and like they should pick their own problems to solve that they want to solve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this up leveling. You segue away from the answer. Yeah. You. I think the audience, would you like to hear how I've contributed, or do we want to tell them about the debate that happened and maybe let them solve, even though we solved it ourselves already? Would we like to maybe bring them into the discussion that your answer was so eloquently and my response to that question? I think sometimes they just spice this conversation up so they can realize how real it gets. And the Krista.
Why are you trying to tell people how it really is? It gets real, guys. So somebody says, I have a product I've been working on for the past 2 years and I feel stuck.
Oh, you feel stuck. So the first question I would ask is, how do you feel stuck? You got to explain that. Do you feel stuck in raising the money, financing the product, the roadmap, business plan? Are you stuck because you're lacking belief in this ability to have a product market fit? Like, where are you stuck? Typically, we're not stuck in all the areas. We're stuck in one or two key areas, and we could maybe help you get you through that.
Somebody said, tell us all. They want to know all the
They want to know all the tea. They want all the tea, Ma. I hear you. It gets exciting. There's never a dull moment between these two. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of care. But there's also candor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to the stuck question, like Reggie was asking, like it really depends on where you're getting stuck. And if you're getting stuck, that just means that you're missing either some information. You're missing some information that you need to move forward. So I will figure out where exactly am I trying to go with this product? Like, what's the problem that you're solving? What's the solution? Like, what is the end result, period? And then reverse engineer back to figure out your gap, right? So you're here, you want to be over here launching your product. There's steps to get there. You just got to figure out which part of these steps am I stuck on? Am I stuck on the information phase? Am I stuck on the deployment phase? Am I stuck on the marketing phase? Right. And then you could figure out how to
tag me in this too. I'm sorry. Did you tag me in this particular transmission?
No, I don't think so. I can go back.
That's okay. I'll get my peeps on it. Continue. I'm sorry. I just wanted to, because you're dropping some great knowledge, and there's people in my community that want to hear Krista Tyus drop that knowledge. And I just thought about it. I'm like, is she holding out, giving all her people all the goods? Let me check.
Do you help those in the tax industry? Yes. Oh, do you only help those in the tax industry? Well, my niche is tax professionals, bookkeepers, and accountants, but I have worked with people that come to me outside of my niche. I've worked with a few software companies. I've worked with I've worked with a real estate investor. I've worked with a auto salesman, finance salesman. I work with a videographer. So yeah, there are people that come to me that are outside my niche, but my niche is like bookkeepers, accountants, CPAs, enroll agents, tax professionals. Those people are my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Someone says, I think I lack confidence to embark on my first client. How do I fix that? You just got to do it. You just got to get your first client. Like, that's the fun part. Like, I always tell the story of when I got like my first big client, I turned him down. I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for this. I think you need somebody with more experience. And I ended up talking to one of my friends, and she was a life coach at the time, or she's still a life coach. She was just really getting into life coaching, and she actually coached me on the spot. She was like, Krista, have you ever had a time where you didn't know everything and you were able to get the job done? You were able to learn the job. Was there ever a time where you started a job and after a few weeks or a few months, like you were proficient in your job? She was like, this time is like that time. She was like, you don't know everything now, but that doesn't mean you can't be of value and of service and that you can't learn, right? And what she said was, I want you to go back and tell him the truth. Tell him you got nervous, you got scared, but tell him that, you're more than willing to learn, that you're going to give it your best shot, and be honest. And I was like, you want me to go back to this client and be like, you know what, I was scared and I'm not scared no more? She was like, yes, I want you to do it. She was like, you already said no, so you already don't have anything right now. So she's like, the worst he could say is no, thank you. Right. So I did what she said. I went back up to that company. I talked to the owner. It was two Irish guys. And I was like, I was nervous, but after thinking about it and after doing more research about your company and your industry, I'm confident I can help you. And he looked, he was like, okay. Okay. And then that was it. $600 a week, 6 to 18, $2,400 per month. That was like my first big bookkeeping client. So if you're afraid of getting your first client, just do it. Go get your first client. And that's where you're going to get as long as you have the foundations, as long as you know the foundations, you're ready to get your first client.
Yeah, you have to just remember that it's okay to be afraid. Like so often people think that these superpreneurs are just like fearless. What it is there's fear, but they move through the fear, right? They have the courage to pursue through it or press through it because they're so focused on the outcome. There's not anyone that's going to be uncomfortable. We're human. Discomfort comes when we're trying something new. Our brain is antiquated. It says, stop, danger, danger, danger. So you just got to push through. And then the brain goes, oh, it's not dangerous. Okay. And then you got to believe in yourself enough to trust that you can figure it out. Even if you get into some choppy waters, so to speak, and you're like, how do I maneuver? Just trust yourself in the process. And if it's obviously tax and accounting, you can just follow Krista Tyus, continue, and get all the answers there. And then you're in great shape. If I was in tax and accounting, I would follow Krista Tyus too. I get to hear it up front though. So, she does her thing. But back to the answer. I feel like we're staying away from this answer about up leveling. Like somehow we keep diverging into different directions and we're not coming back to the answer. The answer that the people want to know, how has this man helped you? Upload, right? Because they know you, they're getting to know me.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who are listening real quick, how many of you would like to see us have our own independent channel where we can really be raw and uncut, because it would be appropriate for the channel, okay? But if you'd be interested in hearing from us consistently, drop a 1 or a comment saying me, I, anything like that, because we want to know that you would be encouraged to hear us continuously, provide real content continuously and provide value. But the floor, if they say, is yours, madam. And by the way, can we all just let Krista know she's wearing that dress right now? Like a whole lot of woman right there.
You can't see it. Well, Instagram can see it, but YouTube, you guys can't really see it. All right, so here's the answer. For me, it was important to have you as my partner, my mastermind partner, my prayer partner, my homie lover friend, right? Like to have you have such a grand abundance about yourself. Like you have a very great spirit about you, and the abundant spirit and mindset is what I need and what I needed almost a year ago, to truly step into my calling. Right. So I was feeling it, like I was feeling it bubble up, and I was feeling the urge and the desire to create better products, or to create products that solved a bigger solution. I was on the trajectory of wealth, right? Of we're just, like I said, just growing $1 million business. So when I got around you, it was like affirmations. It was like it affirmed what my trajectory and what I was already feeling, right? And I just didn't know how big. Like I honestly, I honestly don't think I was thinking about billionaire status. I'm sure I wasn't. I was just trying to hit my first million. I'm like, I know I'm gonna make a few million, right? Like my goal, I think at that time, the biggest goal that I could conceive was $10 million, right?
Yep.
So after talking to you and then really kind of entrenching myself into, like people like Jeff Bezos and other billionaires and really looking at how they got to where they are, it helped me expand. It helped me expand my mindset. It helped me break even more limiting beliefs that I didn't even know were there, right? I thought I had broken past any beliefs because I'm like, oh, we tracking 1 million now. Like, okay, we're good. But I didn't know that that was just the surface. I didn't know that that was just the beginning of the journey, right? And so talking to you and and masterminding with you it's allowed me to accelerate a lot of my success. It's allowed me to accelerate like even where I live. Like if I went to you for counsel and I'm like, I can do this option over here. That's like the smart, wise option, right? That's like the traditional way to go.
Based on who you're talking to, right? But go ahead.
You
Yes.
know who you're talking to, right? Or I can do this right here that will allow me to create bigger and better, right? And you were like, I think you should go to the left because yeah, the right is okay, but you're going to be stagnant there. You're going to plateau there. You're not going to be able to step into. It was like a container that I was putting myself in. And so here's a container that I would have stepped into had I not sought your counsel and talked to you and had you as a mastermind partner. And here's the container that I was able to step into after seeking that counsel, right? So stepping into this house and stepping into everything that happened after I got this house, right? Just like, and just now investing in my first mastermind that was $100,000, right? So I was just telling my community like that about this because they were asking me how they can create programs and courses, and I was letting them know how we can work together to take their business to the next level. And I was letting them know, like I put my money where my mouth is. Like I seek mentorship because one thing that I'm not about to do is waste my time, right? I'm not about to go around here and try to keep figuring it out, winging it and hoping I win, right? I want to find somebody that has already done what I want to do and I want to learn from them. I want to follow in their footsteps. Then you guys can reiterate and modify. Like do what's working. Like follow what's working first and then reiterate upon it once you actually get some traction. So I invested in my first coach. That's a 6-figure coach, $100,000 to work with this person for a year.
Yes, yes. And I hope you all are listening to that because that's so key, growth. But I think it's also fair too that I share how you've helped me up level as well during this. And I think one of the things you left out that we both have worked really hard together on is just our spiritual communication, right? For those of you who don't know, Krista and I, every Monday and Friday morning at 8 a.m., we pray. And that prayer covers business, family, health, wealth, right? People, different movements. You can count on it. Now, obviously, we independently pray every day as a habit. And that's been a habit of mine for years. I'm sure it's been a part of your well-being too. So as you all know, I'm naturally a macro person, okay? I see big picture, right? Oh my God, I got a first YouTube subscriber. I only have a channel. Thank you. Thank you, whoever that is. I just got an alert. That's so funny to me, right? It's go time now. No. So with that being said, the micro, right? I was missing the micro a lot, right? Like when it comes to running multiple businesses, I was great at putting people in place that had that skill set. But, Chris and I, when we began dating, everything was so focused on cash flow per day, right? And I'm used to managing profits, and she's thinking about daily earnings on every single day. And I'm like, why am I not thinking like that, right? Like, why am I thinking so far out that I'm not like, you can still make a lot of money today. And so that was really invaluable. And then two, how you take the time to really think through every nuance and anything that you're not totally clear on. I value that because that is essential. And you will do it unapologetically so that you can be clear on that decision. So even though that's not my personality, what I've learned from that is that when I'm going and working with large organizations or building up my own organization, the importance of making sure that I pay attention and dig deep into every single nuance so that I don't have to imagine how it's going to be pieced together. I already am clear, and let the imagination and vision be what I can't see, right? That's what the vision and imagination needs to be. But whatever's in front of me, I need to have a clear, concise outlook and understanding of it right then and there. And if there's pieces missing, then ask the appropriate questions on exactly how to find where those pieces are, because sometimes they're missing because there's a lack of integrity in that opportunity. There could be a lack of diligence in that opportunity. And then I've had experience where it costs a lot of money because those pieces were missing. And it's kind of like a relationship where you're like, oh my God, I believe they got the potential that one day they will become what they do not become, right? So the bottom line is we've all experienced that in relationships, but it happens in business too. And you are such a master, it's a mastery for you to look at the puzzle in your mind, piece it together and realize what's missing, and then go ask the questions unapologetically to get it. That has been one of my greatest takeaways. And two, you, like I said, you will do what's right for the transaction over the relationship. And I'm such a relationship person that I at fault sometimes, falling short because I put more weight in the relationship than I did into the actual venture. And you are like, no, business first, relationship second. And fundamentally, that is the truth. So for those of you who've made mistakes because of the relationship over business, I have stories that are outside of me, stories within me. And, I literally watched Krista live do this. And like, we're both involved in transaction. And she's like, hey, I love you, but we need to not be boyfriend and girlfriend while we discuss this, okay? We need to be business and turn off that hat and handle business. And that's not easy for people, but that is a discipline that has served her. And so now she's expanding her macro with her micro, and I'm expanding my micro with my macro, and it becomes a machine.
Togetherness. Yes. So let's see what people are saying out here. Let's see what you guys are saying.
Yeah, because I'm running out of wine, so you gotta go fast.
Oh Lord. All right. So someone says, yes, she is, laughing out loud. I don't know what I was, but I want to get my EA license. Krista, do you know if you take the exam one at a time instead of all three together? You take one at a time individually. Hey, Delfusa, she says, how to break out the comfort zone from 1 million to 1 billion. That's a whole different world. That's a whole new vision.
Very true.
People say, love it. Prayers. I love that I include prayer as well as part of my meditation. It's so important and valuable to the process. Reggie, you should post more YouTube. We would like to learn more from you as well. Smiley face.
Thank you.
That's such an awesome counterpart. Is it possible to create a tax business where I can have other CPAs, EAs, bookkeepers in place to do the work while I do the lead generation right from the start? For sure. Yeah, there are a few people that do that now that are in my program, that they just do the leads, and then they're building their team of bookkeepers and accountants, and they're round robin the work.
That's enterprise thinking. Whoever that is, salute to you for thinking like that.
I love this discussion. Women are more focused. What can she say? Ha ha ha. I love your relationship, heart.
Hold on, rewind that. Rewind. Women are more focused on what she said.
She says women are more focused. What can she say? Ha ha ha.
That's because we're not talking about the billionaire that you're sitting in front of. That's why they don't know. We're honoring Krista's billionaire ship right now. We're not talking about mine. That'll be another episode.
Someone says, how much can you realistically make your first year as a tax preparer? I'd say for sure your first year, at least 50 grand. What books do I recommend for tax preparers? I recommend any niche book. So if you are a tax preparer, I recommend any niche specific book. So let's say, for instance, if you want to go after real estate, I will get real estate tax books from Amazon. If you want to go after e-commerce, I will get e-commerce tax books. I will focus on niche specific tax law. If you're going after tax preparation and of course there are other tax books in general that you can buy. Passkey, I love them if you're studying for the enroll agent exam. Let me see. Anybody else say anything? Having to get a 9 to 5 is actually scarier. Yes.
I
I don't
agree.
I don't think anybody that's been an entrepreneur for a few years could go back to a 9 to 5. It's hard. It's super hard to
But
once you're
you'll,
an entrepreneur, go back to a 9 to 5.
yeah, you'll do whatever you gotta do to take care of your family, but it is like being emancipated and then having to go back. So you'll
Just
probably
say
do. What is
Reg,
that?
I came with you. You said emancipate. Someone says, I'm only trained in doing personal taxes. Do you train on doing other taxes or do you suggest to focus on one? No, I think you should do business, personal and business taxes. And I typically teach my people to go after the business client because that's, of course, get experience with individual taxes and then graduate to helping businesses do their taxes. That's where that's where the bang for your buck is at. All right, Reggie. So how long have we been rocking out? Like, what do you want to touch base upon before we leave out? People are getting value. They're like,
It
"Dad,
just came to me. It just came to me, the closing of this conversation. And we're going to poll from the audience. But how many of you would love to be a part if we could convince Krista Tyus to create like a consultant franchise model where you could take all her IP, all her strategies, and start your own turnkey business? I want to know, show some love if you would be interested in that. Like, you don't even have to take a course, a class. You could buy this franchise model, her IP, all laid out, right? Years, literally millions in value. Like literally in the next 12, if you know the next 12 to 18 months, that you could earn $150,000 to $300,000 in the next 12 to 18 months, would you participate? And let's say the investment was $50,000. I don't know what it's really going to be, but if you knew you could invest 50, whether you had to beg, borrow, short of steal to come up with it, and you knew in the next 12 to 18 months that 50 would turn into 150 to, let's say, 350, who would do that?
they're like, of course, yes, I'm listening. Shoot, yeah, hell yeah, interested, yes."
Okay, well, I'm gonna talk to her. Okay, I can't promise you all anything, but I was just thinking about it. I'm like, she showed me her financials one day, right? Because like that's the type of relationship we got. Like, I go through her financials like I'm her CPA, right? And I'm like, who wouldn't want to earn like this? Like, they can replicate the model. Is a system that's proven, documented, and they can quadruple their income and get to the crib, find the man, have the kids, like all that, or
Oh,
find a woman, like all that comes with Krista Ty's program. Okay, like you may find your man in this process. Okay, she may lay that out too. All right, she manifested. Like, I don't know if people know this, but if you look like in 2019 or 18 in her IG, she talks about her ideal partner, right? Now, I didn't know she created this. She knew, but when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, and that's light work. But she had this vision, and so like God moves that way. When you're clear, He aligns. And so for those of you who know that you're supposed to be earning multiple six or approaching seven figures, you're like, there's something missing. You're
yeah.
sitting in front of it, but she just hasn't created it yet because she's so focused on serving the immediate needs that I was trying to get her to expand out of that. So now you
Yeah,
have,
I would love to be able to just package up my business in a box and just give it to you guys and just be like, go do this, go do that. Now, I don't want to create like a carbon copy of me, right? I always tell people I'm not creating a carbon copy, but if I could package it up and just give you everything that I've done that works and say, go do it, have no doubt you guys would be successful.
so would you do it?
Yeah, I would do it. For
Are
sure.
you going to do it? I'm asking for the people now. I'm speaking for the people.
Oh no, IG is about to cut off in 20 seconds.
It's okay. Well, we've had a wonderful evening. Stand by. We're going to open up our channel soon so we can really rock out and provide some strategic content for those of you who want to hear beyond this.
He says, yes, girl, yes, have the ideal man vision board. Ha ha ha. So, okay, wait. When did you pivot away from being a realtor when focusing on building your business? Someone says that's an awesome idea. Please start a channel. True, people can keep it separate sometimes. That's awesome relationship, guys. So when did I pivot away from being a realtor? I pivoted away from being a realtor when I was just like, it was really becoming not my passion. I think at the end of the day, I just lost, or I just felt like, is this really what I'm going to do? Is this really what I want to do? Like, it just stopped being in alignment with my spirit. That's the only way I could put it. And then I just started naturally, when I started to feel like the misalignment, I just started naturally looking for other opportunities. I'm like, so what am I supposed to be doing? Like, I got confused. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just felt like a bigger calling, right? I'm like, what is this feeling that I feel? I feel a bigger calling on my life, a bigger calling on my impact. And I'm like, is it selling houses? And I'm like, I just couldn't, I was grappling with it, right? And then I just started to fall into what I do now, which is coaching, consulting, and helping people. Yeah, helping people grow a tax and bookkeeping business like I was able to do for several years. So I was able to grow my own tax and bookkeeping business to 6 figures before I sold my tax business to another enrolled agent. And then I got into real estate. Yeah.
Great job, babe.
You ready to go, Reggie? You looking tired. You sleepy?
I'm ready to literally go, get in my car, go.
Where are you going, Reggie? Where are you getting in your car at 10 o'clock at night to go?
Only you don't you wish you could know. But I see the bat signal. Batman has to emerge. I see the bat signal calling.
Oh Lord.
Get into the bat cave.
Someone says, hi, Krista and Reggie. Thanks for going live today. My question for you both is about manifestation. How do you get clarity on what you truly desire?
Ooh, you start there because you've been crushing the manifestation game. I mean, my game is okay, but your manifestation game got me inspired.
Okay, so the question was, how do I get clarity on what I truly desire? Yeah, like the only way to get clarity on what you truly desire is to know what you want, right? So I like to break my life up into 3 areas: health, wealth, and love. So the first thing that I started with was myself, right? Because that's what I could control. So I started with, what is it do I want to do as far as work, right? Like what impact do I want to have? So just get clear on that. Like, what would you do right now if you didn't get paid? Like, if money wasn't an option, what would you be doing with your life? And when I looked at that, I'm like, if I had all the money and all the time, what would I do? Right. And I started writing. I actually journaled that. I journaled, what would I do? Who would I talk to? Like, if I wasn't scared, if I didn't have an ounce of fear in my body, who would I call up tomorrow? Because you guys know we can find anybody's information online. We can get their email. We can follow them on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Like, we could be connected to anyone. It's just we're fearful to actually reach out. And that's something, sidebar, that I love about Reggie's mom. Like, she's like the OG when it comes, like when she sees something, she looks like she'll pick up the phone, she'll call. And I'm like, oh, that's such a huge attribute that I love about her, is that if she want to talk to somebody, she don't care if it's the president or if it's, anyway, like she's going to like call them up, right? And I'm like, that's such an invaluable attribute to have. So just get clear on what you want with your profession. Get clear on what you want with your life. So I started looking at like how do I want to look? Like, how do I want to wear my hair? When people see me, what do I want them to perceive? How do I want to feel? Right. And oftentimes we dress how we feel, and you should dress how you want to feel. Right. So if you wake up and you feel crappy, dress amazing, right? Because you want to dress how you want to feel. So I got clear on how, how much I wanted to weigh, right? My measurements, right? You just have to know on all aspects of your life, what do you want, and just start working towards it and calling it in. So once I got like my business, my wealth together, once I got my health together, I started working out. Then the last thing was my love. And I tell you guys, I'm transparent. My love life has always been a little.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Love life always been a little shaky, right? So what I did, I just got clear. Like I was like, Krista, you're super clear on everything else but love. Like I'm super clear down to how I want my hairstyle and, the type of shoes that I want to wear, the type of nail polish I want to wear. I'm super clear on the type of impact or the type of programs that I want to have, the type of client that I want to have. But I never got clear on the type of man that I wanted to have in my life. And so I just legit, like it compelled me. Like I wasn't even like dating. I was celibate for a year. And I'm like, I need to get clear on the type of man or the type of partner that I want. And I just wrote it down. I was like, what do I want? Like, what do I need? And I just started writing this list. And you guys can go on my Instagram and actually go back to that post and check it out. Some of the things that I said was, can we communicate about anything? Does he share his feelings willingly and openly? Can we mutually and beneficially mastermind with each other? Right. So all these little things, it just, it just popped up. I was like,
And what people don't see too is that there's part of manifestation is realizing that what you're seeking is also seeking you. So for me in that area, it was different where I had been married, I became a widower, right? And so coming out of a very strong marriage, I was like, God, I'm just going to trust you. Like I don't have this predefined vision, this notion. I just said, whatever you have for me, I've experienced it once. It was amazing. I know you'll do it again, right? It was just simple. And so some of you heard the story, like we would meet for business and we would get up and never talk to each other for like a whole year, 2 years, 3 years sometimes, right? And then she would randomly, yes, her, I initiate the first conversation ever in 2012. But beyond that, for some reason, Krista told me, she's like, I would hear you in my head, like, call Reggie or reach out to Reggie. And she's like, she never knew, like, why am I reaching out to this guy, right? Or then I would pop up in her Instagram, especially in 2017, when I was traveling all around the world. And so with that being said, I remember in August when we had lunch, we met for business. And again, we got up, didn't say anything. And then in October, the voice, I call it the angel voice, Holy Spirit was like, get to know her. And so I was like, okay, let's have a date. And it began from there. And so to me, manifestation really starts with intentionality. What Krista described is she was very intentional on what it is that she's desired the outcome to be. And you can only be intentional when you're clear. Clarity is key because you don't know, you can't tell until you become aware if you're congruent or incongruent. And incongruencies is what limits the manifestation from taking place, because the manifestation is the result, it's not the journey, okay? It's the outcome. So what it is that you desire as an outcome, you've already begun the manifestation, you just may not be in alignment. And so you're working to get aligned so you can be congruent with the feeling, the emotion, and desire, which comes back to, I forgot who created this, but it just is simple for me to remember, is be, do, have, right? And so you become it first. Before you have the tangibility, the evidence, you become. She's becoming that billionaire now. And then the paperwork will catch up later, but she's becoming, she's the habits, the belief, the posture, the way she conducts herself, her communication, her thought process are working to be in alignment with that billionaire woman. And then once the belief is there, then you can do. So you begin to do. Now we say do doesn't mean that you need to get on a jet or jump into a $100,000 car. That's not doing. Doing is the small disciplines, the behaviors, right? The way you conduct, the way you communicate with people. Do you you'll realize the ultra wealthiest people are some of the nicest people on the planet. And part of it is because they ain't got a lot of stress on their life, right? So they're able to just communicate with ease but they work for that. That was not always given. You had to keep that in mind. So you be and then you do, and then when you do and 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 do some more and do a little bit more and do, and then you get tired of doing, but you keep doing, then you eventually have.
Mm-hmm.
And if she told you her love life story or her business story, there's a lot of do's, right? Do's. Like I do this, I did this, that didn't work. Heartbreak here, headaches here, disappointment here, discouragement here, failure here. But the consistency of doing and learning along the way and becoming aware allow for alignment, and then manifestation started. The rewards start to follow. So be, do, have.
Mm-hmm.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Mic drop, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Reggie Flowers, ladies and gentlemen. Coming in with on the 1-2s. Someone says, much love, thank you. Once you identify all the things you want, how do you know when to keep working towards those things and when you are getting too distracted? So one of the things that I had to like go through, I think with you, Reggie, was once you kind of call in the things that you want, you start to, I don't want to call it self-sabotage. What is it, Reggie? Like you're fearful, like you start to, you like, you really didn't expect for it to happen. It's like, does he really got all the things that I was asking for? Like, is this really right? Like, God, is this? And then you start questioning, right? You start going through that process. And one of the things that Jacqueline told me, what something about I met my match, right? Like I was having like conflict. And I'm like, why do I have this conflict? Because he's like such a great guy and he got everything.
She wanted to run me like the other cats. And those
I wanted to run, period. I just wanted to run. I was just like, have my heels on. I'm like, this is
like, what you running for? Nobody trying to hurt you. She treated me like I was Freddy Cougar, right? Right. Funny enough, I got into Freddy Cougar colors right now, but like I was Reggie Cougar. But no, so continue. So I think you're rolling on a path that it is a form of self-sabotage because of limiting beliefs. People do it all the time. They self-sabotage their own success because of their own limiting beliefs, because there was conflict. You knew what you wanted, your conscious mind decided on it, but your subconscious was not congruent. So you had to condition your subconscious to be in alignment with the new idea the conscious mind is given and become that person. So like I use the analogy all the time. You have a person that's been with you for 2 decades, 3 decades, 5 decades and more. And all of a sudden this conscious mind, like the new person, like, hey, we're going to get rich. We're going to be successful. They've been around for like 20 minutes. And then the other person, like, I've been here. I've been in the trenches with this person for several decades. You're going to also come in and like, we just going to change everything. It's like somebody walking in your house and redesigning it after you've had it a certain way for so long. So what has to happen, in my experience in coaching people, is you got to begin to question the person that's been with you for decades that hasn't helped you get where you want to go. Like you got to begin to question them and say, why do I believe I don't deserve this? Or why is that not true versus being true? Like you got to begin to question the limiting beliefs.
When you get distracted was like her question. Like what happens when you get distracted?
Well, thank you for keeping me focused. So first off, it's awareness. First, you gotta ask yourself, what was it like whenever I've been super focused? And sometimes we've been super focused on negative things or positive things. But when we're super focused, it's all we can think about, breathe, process. Our energy is there, right? So it's like, how do I get myself to that place where I'm super centered? It has to be a pulling of your spirit. And that goes back to alignment. You have to be doing something that calls you, right? And it's not gonna happen all the time. We're human. It's gonna be moments of lack of focus. We all go through it. But when you condition your focus to turn it on, then you can do it. And they'll come through a certain trait of habits, behaviors that you've developed over time. So when you lose focus, you at least know it. And then you got to ask yourself, why am I unfocused? And what can I do? Like sometimes you just got to ask yourself simple questions and you'll be so impressed the answers you give yourself that will help you get back in alignment and do small steps that over time will compound to an ultimate focus.
I love that.
Okay, y'all cutting into my time now. She doesn't live close. That's the problem.
Oh, just reading the comments.
Okay, you want to share?
No, I'm just laughing at Delfusa. She said, "Ha ha ha." Reggie Krueger. I guess you said something about Krueger, Freddy
Mhm,
Krueger.
mhm. I did. You was running your heels like I was trying to destroy you.
Yeah. I think the great part, and we can end on this, but I think the great part that or that, well, it's two things. One, I just go back to when we start talking about like our relationship and stuff like that, I just go back to that one argument where I was just like, why are you here? Right? Like, why are you here? Like, why? And you was like,
I don't know. You gotta ask God. I ain't choose to be here. Yes, yes.
and I just was like, I
Like, how
just
do you
shut
answer that?
up.
Like, what do you say to that? Right?
What do you say to that? I go back to that moment. I go back to the moment where I was like upset and like we were mad or something. And I was like walking by you and you were like, we got to pray. Like, let's pray right now. And I'm like trying to be mad. I'm like,
You can't say no to prayer, right? You can't say no to God. You're like, oh.
right now. But so I never had a man do that. Like, yo, we going through a problem. Let's pray right now. Like, we got to pray. And then after we prayed, it was just like this weight that lifted. And I was like, that worked. Oh my God. Like, who is this guy? And then the third thing, I did say two. Now I'm on number three. Because obviously I can go on and on about you, Reggie. But the third thing was when you said that we were building a skyscraper. And I like that's always gonna stick with me. Like when you bring two people together, what was it? You bring the raw goods,
Mhm.
and depending on the people, like you could build a nice house, you could build a nice hotel, and there's some people that's like, we got a lot of raw goods coming to the table, and these raw resources together is building a skyscraper. Is like building together, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, I loved how you said that.
I love hearing you say it back. It just resonates. A skyscraper. And I use the example like the Burj Khalifa. If you haven't been to Dubai, like literally, we try to take pictures as far away from this building as possible, and it will not fit in the frame. Like it's that big, right? This thing is still the world's largest, tallest building. It's also called the Armani Hotel. And you're just looking at this thing like, how? How did they do that, right? Like, how did they get that high and get everything down from there? But I think about relationships where there's two people without purpose. And one of the things that Torrey Roberts said that was always profound to me was, if it's real, the problems and challenges are going to come out up front. Like they're going to be, it's all like God's going to lay it out up front. And if there's real love, you'll feel like the person's worth working through it. And if you don't feel like they're worth working through it, then you'll walk away. And I think that was a very profound thought and process. And it helped, I remember that helped us in a very pivotal moment as we were discovering our communications, right? Because both of us were used to a certain type of person giving us a certain type of treatment. And we were like, hmm, hmm. I don't know, right? Like, so like it was a process, but we had to trust God. And I think that was a greater cause and mission, was realizing that I didn't pursue you intentionally. And you having me on your mind over time professionally, and then how it all kind of just merged together, right? And even the way our children interact with one another, right, is pretty interesting. Like there's very little to no conflict, right, if ever, right, especially between the girls. And so that's something that that when you talk about manifestation, those of you asking about manifestation, that you have to, when God provides it and delivers it, you got to actually get into a place of trust. Because some of you, it's already shown up, but you didn't trust it because it wasn't the way you perceived it to be. The way it should have, the way you thought it should have been delivered, versus you recognizing the silhouette and recognizing the frame, the infrastructure, right? You wanted it to look a certain way, and so therefore you passed on it. But now wisdom is saying, I release my desires and let yours come forth, God, and then I'll step into it because I know it's aligned with what's in my heart. And I think that was the process that you've uncovered. I was fortunate enough to experience prior to, so I understood it. And so I was as patient as I could be. You know, I'm not super patient in some regards, but I was patient with soft gloves on as you tried to run. I said, come here, don't worry. It's okay. And here we are today.
Thank you, Reggie. So we'll tell part two, and it's going to be like a whole chapter over the next 40 plus years.
Part 2 is the ascension.
Well, part one was Krista running. Part 2, we gotta talk about when Reggie was trying to.
Oh, yeah, I got a little
out of here.
conflict. That is true. Part 2. So maybe chapter 3 then is the ascension. I was skipping. I forgot. You know, I casually forgot my chapter, right?
You forgot your chapter, right?
Yes. Listen, you know what people say? Did you lose your mind? I really feel like I lost my mind. Okay. But we're going to stay tuned so you all can hear the stories, because we got great stories. There's nothing we can't share with you. You're our family. You know, you can learn from this. So you can be a part of the building of our community. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Love you guys. Thanks so much for hanging in. As always, Krista and Reggie coming to you live and virtually. Have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.